You don't need a car, my dad said. The bus is fine for someone like you. This was at my sister Leora's engagement dinner at some fancy steakhouse downtown. The whole family was there. Parents, grandparents, Leora's future in-laws, the works, and somehow the conversation turned to my transportation situation. I'm 26, work remotely as a software developer, and yeah, I take the bus everywhere. My family treats this like I'm some kind of failure living in 2003. It's just embarrassing, my mom said, cutting her steak aggressively. When people ask how my son gets around, what am I supposed to say? Tell them he's environmentally conscious? I suggested. Dad laughed. Environmentally conscious. Right, that's what we're calling broke now. Leora's fiance Kale nodded along. I mean, I get it, man, but public transportation is just... He made a face like he'd smelled something rotten. I couldn't imagine not having my Tesla. Real adults own cars, my mom continued. How are you supposed to date anyone seriously? What girl wants to ride the bus to dinner? Leora just smirked from across the table. Good thing Kyle has that Tesla, she said, reaching over to squeeze his hand. At least one of us made something of ourselves. The table went quiet for a second. Even Grandma looked uncomfortable. Leora, Grandpa warned quietly. What? I'm just saying, it's nice to be with someone who has their life together. Kyle beamed, like he just won an award. The Model S really is incredible. 0 to 60 in 2.1 seconds. I just nodded and took another bite of my bread roll. Sounds fast? The thing is, I actually had $47,000 sitting in my savings account. I'd been living minimally since college, investing everything I didn't need for rent and food, and honestly just never needed a car in the city. My apartment is 3 blocks from everything. I work from home, and the bus system actually works pretty well here, but my family didn't know any of this. They just saw their brother who took public transportation and assumed I was barely scraping by. Maybe we should help him out, Kyle suggested, like I wasn't sitting right there. I know a guy who sells decent used cars. Nothing fancy, but reliable. That's sweet of you, Mom said, though I don't think he could afford the insurance anyway. I excused myself to the bathroom just to avoid saying something I'd regret. 3 weeks later, my phone rang at 11 p.m. Leora was calling, which was weird because we barely talked outside family events. Hey, what's up? She was crying, like really crying. Kale's been lying about everything, she sobbed. The Tesla isn't his, it's leased through his dad's company. He's in massive debt, like $80,000 on credit cards, and he just told me the wedding venue wants $15,000 up front by Friday or they're canceling everything. I sat up in bed. What do you mean canceling? They said Kale's card was declined for the deposit twice. The wedding is in 6 weeks and we're about to lose everything. The venue, the catering, all of it. Have you told Mom and Dad? Not yet. I'm so embarrassed. Everyone thinks he's this successful guy and he's been lying this whole time. I don't know what to do. What do you need, Leora? Could you maybe help? Just a loan? I know you probably don't have much, but even a few thousand would buy us time to figure something out. The next day, Leora called an emergency family meeting. She'd told everyone about KL's financial lies and the wedding crisis. He wasn't invited to this particular conversation. We all gathered in my parents' living room. Leora had been crying again. Her eyes were red and puffy. We'll figure something out, Dad was saying, pacing behind the couch. Maybe we can all chip in a few hundred each. I've got about $1,200 in my emergency fund, Mom offered. I could probably do $800, Grandpa added. They were all doing math out loud, trying to figure out how to scrape together $15,000 between 6 people. I pulled out my checkbook and wrote $15,000 right there on the coffee table. The room went completely silent, like dead silent. Mom stared at the check. Where did you get this money? Dad asked, picking up the check like it might be fake. Turns out, I said, sliding it toward Leora, you don't actually need a car when you're this good at saving money. Leora just stared at the check, then at me. This is real? I could have bought 10 cars by now, I added. I just chose not to. I'm still taking the bus, still saving money, still not buying a Tesla.